Okay, so we're finally here on Sora's website. If you are someone who wants to do this side by side as you're watching this course, then go ahead, go to Sora's website, www.sora.com. I'll have the link in the description down below, or even on screen right here as you can see yourself. If you do have an OpenAI account, then you will easily be able to access Sora. Otherwise, you'll unfortunately have to make an OpenAI account. But before we actually get started in creating viral aesthetic images using Sora, I'll have to explain to you the interface that's going on Sora's website. So as you can see on screen right here, on the left hand side, you have different sections such as the search bar, explore page, which is all the images that you see in front of you that other people have made using Sora. And if you want, you can filter it using either images, or if you want videos, then you can find videos as well. As you can see, people have made different videos using Sora. And if you have liked any photos, then you'll also see those here as well. Down here in the library section, you'll see all the media that you have created yourself using Sora. So I'm not going to show you what I've created, but I have created many different photos, many different images using Sora. Underneath its favorites, again, same thing as, photos that you've liked of others, you'll have favorites. Uploads is where when you're creating an image, you can upload your own photo or a reference photo so that when Sora is creating your image, it can use that reference photo to be a bit more accurate, right? And then down here is the trash, which is all the recent projects that you've hidden from people so they don't look at it or they don't see it. Because a lot of the time, any sort of image that you generate on Sora, it will be shown on the explore page, maybe not towards you, but towards other people. And of course, if you are someone who likes to be organized and have their images in certain places, then you can always click on the folder button, the new folder button, and you can organize your images there. Now, in front of us, we have all the images that people have generated. You see this image of a guy sitting on his bed, alarm ringing. You have a guy who has chronic pain. You have a guy who's, in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and so on and so forth. And you'll find many different images based off of what people have given Sora as a prompt. Now, this is sort of like a feed, and it's not necessarily something that is tailored to each person's need. These are random photos that random people have generated, and you can also see the amount of likes each photo gets and the account, whoever has made this photo. And based off of this, you can see that many people do put a lot of effort in their prompts just because of how the images that you see on screen right now are created, such as this image which you see right here, which is, I think, from the medieval times, or like I said, this person standing in front of the Eiffel Tower is, again, very high quality, very high contrast. You could see different types of colors being used. And if I were to show this person who's probably never heard of Sora, never heard of any image generation AI software, then they probably think that that is a real photo, when in fact it's not. Third section is down here where you can see the prompt box where it says describe your image. Now this is where majority of the magic happens, and like ChatGPT, because Sora is a product of OpenAI, Sora works a lot like ChatGPT. So the prompts that I'll be using today will be similar to the prompts that we use for ChatGPT, right? Because they're both the same products of OpenAI. So down here, when you have your describe your image, you'll be writing text prompts describing your image in detail. And I elaborate to this because detail is the most important thing when it comes to talking to Sora or even any sort of AI tool. Beside the describe your image section, you have a plus button, and over here you can upload your own images, such as an image of yourself or a reference photo, either from your device or the library if you've used Sora before. Down here you have type, so either you want to generate an image or a video. Because I'm using the free version, I won't be able to generate videos for you today, but because Sora is very identical to ChatGPT, no matter what prompt you use, you can either use that prompt for an image or a video as well. But for today, it's just an image. If you are wanting to generate videos, it's the same process as generating images. Beside this, you have your preference of aspect ratio. So they have 3 different types. So it's either 3:2, 1:1, or 2:3. Unfortunately, I don't know why they don't have 16:9 or 9:16, which is the most preferred aspect ratio. Otherwise, usually when I'm using Sora, I do use Sora for thumbnail images. So if you have been watching my videos for quite a long time, you'll see that my thumbnails are very high contrast, and majority of that is because of the background that I use. And all of the backgrounds that I use in my thumbnails are generated from Sora, and I usually generate them in a 3:2 aspect ratio. Next, we have variations. So whenever you submit a prompt to Sora, you can either have it generate 1 image, or you can have it generate 2 images. I'll recommend 2 images just because if you do want to make any changes, then you have 2 references in which you can change the image, right? And then over here you have preset, and I think this is one of my favorite features, is because if you see all the images that you have on screen right now, this is sort of a cartoony style, this is more of a realistic style, this is a line art, you could say, and so on and so forth. So all of these different images are made and presented using these presets down here, right? And you can toggle each one of them, and you can choose whether you want a film, preset, or you want a cartoony or pixel art, like I said before, and Sora will generate an image based off of that preset. So which is good. Now you don't have to mention whether you want your image to be line art or medieval style or whatever style you want. You can always use one of these presets and then give your prompt to Sora. And then on the top right hand corner, you can see you have 3 icons. This is just a filter. Like I said, if you want images, videos, same thing. Over here, once you have generated the image, or once Sora has generated the image, you can go to the activity side and you can see the image that Sora has generated. And then on the right, you have profile, and you can have access settings, help, video tutorials. These are useless. You don't need to watch these because you have me right now. You can also join the Discord, and you can see your plan, which is free right now. I will be buying the paid soon, but for now, for Sora, you don't need the pro version. Right, so those were every single setting, every single part of the interface that I shared with you. Now it's time to actually generate an image. Now, a lot of people, and I still see people doing this today, is they don't know how to write prompts. Please, I beg you, for everyone who is using AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Sora, please learn how to prompt, because there are many benefits in knowing how to prompt AI, right? Okay, so I'll give you an example. Let's say if I wanted to generate an image of a guy standing in front of Statue of Liberty, right? So a lot of people, and 99% of people would do this, they would literally write, generate me an image of a guy standing in front of the Statue of Liberty. And they would hit enter, right? One line, not much detail, not much clarity, no context, whatever. Just generate me an image of a guy standing in front of the Statue of Liberty. Now, I'm not saying that Sora is not going to generate an image based off of that description, but you certainly will not get a result like this, or this, or this, right? You can forget about getting any good results from that. Main thing about generating images from Sora is, because it's an image as well, you want detail, you want context, you want clarity. And the way you get clarity is by knowing what you really want the end product to be, right? So if I do want someone who is standing in front of the Statue of Liberty, how do I want that person to be? Do I want them to be, taking a selfie or doing a pose? What sort of background do I want? Do I want it to be raining in the background? Do I want it to be cloudy, stormy? How do I want the person to look? Is it a white guy, a brown guy, a black guy? No offense to anyone. Or do I want it to be a male or female? All these things matter. And without those things, you're going to get random results. And it will probably look like you generated an image using AI. So let's finally uncover this and demystify this by me showing you how to prompt Sora for the best results. Right. So like I said before, we're gonna create an image of a guy standing in front of the Statue of Liberty, right? And we're going to start off like this. So we're going to give it context. We'll say, generate me an image of a young male in his 20s who is a backpacker and is traveling the world, looking at different sceneries. This image should be of the young man standing in front of the Statue of Liberty. So I've given a bit of context. So I've said this young male who's in his 20s, he's a backpacker, he's traveling the world, and right now he's in America, he's in New York City, and he wants to stand in front of the Statue of Liberty. Some might say this is enough. To me, that's not enough. I think we can be a bit more specific in how we prompt, because you need to take account in what the guy is wearing, the camera angle even. Do you want it to be, you know, a mid shot, long shot, you know, upper angle, lower angle, sort of like that. So we're gonna be a bit more descriptive. I want the image to be a mid shot of the young man standing in front of the... Okay, so I've finished writing the whole prompt and I'll read it out to you. If you want to have the same prompt, then you'll find it in the description down below. Every single thing that I do in this video and in this course will be in the description. So go ahead, every single resource is down there. Go check it out. But for my prompt, I have started with a bit of context. I started with who the person is that I want the image of. So I stated this person is a young male in his 20s. He's a backpacker, he's a traveler, and he's looking at different scenes. And right now he's in New York City, he's standing in front of the Statue of Liberty. So that's a bit of context about him. And now this time I talked about the camera angle, because that also matters. So I mentioned that I want the image to be a mid shot of the young man standing in front of the Statue of Liberty. So a mid shot is somewhere around from the top of your head to around waist height of that person. A long shot is full body, and close shot is probably top of the head to around the neck. And I mentioned what the guy is wearing. So I mentioned that he is wearing blue jeans, a sweatshirt, white sneakers, and a black backpack on his shoulder. In terms of skin color, I said he has white facial skin color with little facial hair. He has a comb over, taper fade, or whatever hairstyle you call this, and he's posing in front of the camera. So you can probably just end the prompt there, where I have, you know, he should have brown eyes, but you also want the guy to be posing. You know, if he's traveling around the world, he should be excited about whether he's in front of the Statue of Liberty, so he's going to be posing. And I mentioned how he's posing. So he's going to be posing on his side, facing the camera, and the Statue of Liberty will be on the right side of it. Now, aside from what you want in the photo, you also have to mention what you don't want in the photo. I think most people underestimate how much you have to tell ChatGPT or any LLM to not include in their answer, right? So in this case, I mentioned that don't have any other person or thing, animal in the background of the photo. It should just be this young man and the Statue of Liberty. So we're gonna click enter, and we're gonna see what Sora generates for us. On a side note, there are other image generating AIs out there, like Nano Banana Pro, which is a product of Google. There is Recraft AI, and there's many other different types as well. But I think by far the best results I've gotten is from Sora, and I wouldn't choose any other one after that. But we finally have our image, and based off of the results, I think it's not too bad. So in terms of descriptions, I think it's quite spot on how Sora has been able to do this. Please comment down below which image you like better, number 1 or number 2. To me, I think number 2 looks a lot more better, and I think the background, how it's blurred the Statue of Liberty a little bit, is sort of teasing. I wish it wasn't that blurred, but maybe I did forget to mention it in the prompt, so I will mention it next time to not blur it. But in terms of the description of the male itself, he does look like he's in his 20s, comb over, taper fade, little facial hair, white skin color, black backpack, sweatshirt, jeans. Pretty good. In terms of the background though, sun shining, water reflecting. There's no one in the background, like I mentioned. I don't think there is. Yeah, no, there isn't anyone in the background, which is good. So yeah, comment down below which image you liked best, number 1 or number 2. Let's go over and try a different preset. So once you have generated the image and you click on activity and you see your image, you have a few more options down here. So number 1 is you can edit your prompt. So the prompt you've written, you can either adjust it, you can either delete some things or add some things, you know, whatever you want to do. Right, so I'm gonna just add, so you can adjust the prompts, you can adjust the aspect ratio, you can adjust everything. And this time let's have a different preset. So in the starting I didn't have any presets, so let's try a cartoony preset. Let's create image. So like I said, image added to queue, and we're gonna wait. Besides that, there's remix. So if you have 2 images generated, that you can choose one of them and you can click on remix and you can choose which version. So version 1, version 2, and you can ask which changes you want to make based off of the version you want, right? And then lastly is if you do have the pro version of Sora or ChatGPT, OpenAI, then you can click on create video and you can choose whether you want to create the video of variation 1 or variation 2, and it will create a 5 to 6 second video of whatever you want the guy doing, whether it's walking towards the Statue of Liberty or, you know, doing something. Okay, so this is interesting. Not very cartoony, but in terms of the image itself, not gonna lie, it looks quite convincing. Again, for me, number 2 is the winner here, just because of the sun's reflection of his face. And I think this image looks a bit more cinematic compared to this one. I think his face looks a bit flat. But then again, comment down below which image you like best, either number 1 or number 2. Otherwise, it doesn't look very cartoony to me. It sort of looks the same. I was expecting a bit of doodles or cartoony figures here. But in the end, yeah, it did decrease the blur of the Statue of Liberty, which is good. And no person in the background, so it's kept everything the same. Hence, whatever image you are going to create with Sora, make sure that you give it context, you give it clarity, you explain in detail what you want in the image itself. And it could be the most minor details, because the more details you give it, the more accurate your image is going to be, and the more realistic and the more professional your image is going to be. So welcome to part 2, episode 2 of the Gen AI course, where today I'm going to be showing you how you can use ChatGPT for your benefit. If you haven't watched the first part or the first episode of this Gen AI course, where I showed you how you can use Sora to create amazing, visually amazing aesthetic images just by using text prompts, then go ahead, watch it. I'll have it linked in the top right hand corner of your screen or in the description down below. So go ahead, check it out. An awesome video, and I think a lot of you loved it as well. Now, getting to the main point, you'll see that if you have watched the Sora video, a lot of things are similar between Sora and ChatGPT because both of them are OpenAI's products. Now, recently I did make a video about how to prompt ChatGPT properly and the specific structure of your own prompt, and nothing is new about that. It's going to be the same thing, and it's the same thing which I'll be explaining in this video as well. But if you want to skip over that, then either you can watch that video where I explained it, or you can keep watching this video because I'll keep on explaining more things and more areas of ChatGPT, which will obviously help you out in the future. Now, before I actually get into the whole prompting and, you know, creating the cool stuff with ChatGPT, let's go over the actual interface. So there have been a few changes between the interface and the last time I made a video about ChatGPT. So basically, from the looks of it, it looks quite similar from previously, but on the left hand side we have all our chats, starting with at the top new chat and everything else over here, which I'm going to explain later on in this video. Down here you have GPTs, where you can either make or create and even join different GPTs and use them creatively. I am using the free version today just because I know majority of people use ChatGPT on the free version, and so if I were using the paid version, then a lot of you guys won't be able to copy me in this course, so that's why I'm using the free version just for you. And again, down here you have all your chats, which I have probably hundreds of thousands of, and I've used ChatGPT for many different reasons, many different occasions. Right here in the middle, you have your text box, and this is where you can basically ask ChatGPT to do anything, nearly everything. So if you hit the plus button, you have, of course, more options of adding files, creating images now, which is not linked to Sora. This is a little different. You can do web search if you're a student, then deep research, even more such as making it think longer. Usually ChatGPT takes around 2-3 seconds just to give you an answer. But if you have the thinking icon selected, then it'll think longer and basically give you a comprehensive answer towards your question. Now, over here, you can actually see a few new icons, one of them being your year with ChatGPT. And this is something very recently that ChatGPT launched last year, December, where you can see your overall engagement with ChatGPT, which is really, really awesome. Above it though, I have the Canva icon, and the reason I have it and you might not have it is because I have actually connected Canva to my own ChatGPT, and I'm going to show you what it can do because it's actually amazing. So keep watching this video till the very end and you'll see what ChatGPT can do with Canva. Now let's get over to the actual prompting side of things. Now in my previous video where I mentioned and I showed you how to prompt ChatGPT, it's the same as always. The structure that I shared with you in that video was basically define, explain, resist, right? So just going over it briefly, define meanings, define the concept of what you're trying to ask, meaning define who ChatGPT is. If you are, let's say, a content creator trying to find ideas for your content, your YouTube channel, then you can say to ChatGPT, well, you, ChatGPT, are a professional content strategist, content creator, a social media marketer who has years of experience and is really able to understand the trends and what's really going viral in the content space right now in whatsoever niche you're in, and blah, 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 right? So that's where you define ChatGPT, who it is, what it's going to do in the next few parts of your chat. Next is explain. Now you define who ChatGPT is. You're going to explain your problem or your query to ChatGPT, and then you're going to go ahead and further on develop on how it's supposed to answer your query or your question. So going on with the content creator concept, once I've defined ChatGPT that it's a social media marketer with 10 plus years of experience, I'm going to say that as a content creator myself, I'm having trouble finding content ideas which will go viral in the business or finance niche. And I don't know who my target audience is, and I'm struggling to find content that will intrigue my target audience. So in this case, you give ChatGPT clarity on what your problem is, and you give it different ways of how to explain and solve that problem. Now, once you've explained your problem, and again, this is why I'm going through this very rapidly, is because I've already explained everything in the previous video. So again, watch it in the description down below or in the top right hand corner. Lastly, you also want to make sure that ChatGPT doesn't give you the wrong answers. Wrong answers meaning sometimes we want ChatGPT to answer the question in a particular way. And most of the time we forget to actually tell ChatGPT to not give us such information, right? So the last part of this is resist. And resisting just means that you tell ChatGPT what not to do when giving its answer, right? So you just give it like a bunch of do nots, like do not give me fake information, do not give me random websites or references from your answer, do not give me anything that's AI generated or sound AI generated, such and such. So this way, once you give it a whole prosperity of how you want your answer to form, it will sound more authentic, it will sound more human, less AI, and you will get the answers you want. So that is basically how you're going to prompt ChatGPT, and I can show you, but again, this is not what this part is about because I've already made this video. So this is basically how you should prompt ChatGPT for every single time you want to ask a question. Now, for someone who is new to my channel and you're watching me for the first time, then I will show you the actual prompt and the structure that I use, although I did explain it, but I will show you on screen right now how I usually do it. So here's a prompt that I just wrote about ChatGPT generating lyrics for my future songs if I was a songwriter. First paragraph, I've stated that who ChatGPT is, what its expertise is. So I've said, you are a unique and professional songwriter and producer who has been creating, writing, composing, and singing songs for over a decade. So if you want, you can mention the timeline, but the more you can mention, the better. You have all the experiences in the world with what music goes viral and what won't, which notes are best at which pace, and which music is best suited for specific occasions and events. So you're basically tailoring ChatGPT as to, this is your identity, this is who you are, this is where you're going to be for this chat. Next paragraph is I give it context, I give it clarity of who I am and what my problem is with, creating music and all that. So I run a YouTube channel and I've been creating content for 3 years consistently. My biggest pain point when creating and editing my videos is I struggle to find the proper soundtrack that will fit with the vibe of any of my videos. So that's the problem that I have with soundtracks. And so this is, next paragraph is where I make sure that ChatGPT knows what I want from it. So I've said, hence, I have a solution of utilizing Suno AI to create me AI generated music. And I need to make sure that you, ChatGPT, know what type of soundtracks I want for my video. And I ask you to help me craft proper specific prompts for Suno so that I can get the right music possible. And down here, the resist bit is the do not. So do not generate soundtracks that aren't tailored to my taste. Don't generate music lyrics which don't match my vibe. And don't generate AI-like music. So this is basically how you want every single chat to go when it comes to prompting. If you decide you want to add a bit towards it, you can. This is the whole framework of how you can prompt ChatGPT first of all into giving you the best results possible. And if you use this, by far, you'll be surprised at how good ChatGPT responds to all of your instructions. So that was the prompting part of it. Now I'm going to show you a few other tips and tricks you can do with ChatGPT. Now, I mentioned that I had Canva connected to ChatGPT. And the reason why I did that is because, well, I was having trouble making thumbnails for my videos. And I thought, why don't we make AI make the thumbnails for us? So we're going to try make a poster for a shoe brand on Christmas sale, right? So you know how a lot of people, when Christmas comes, they have promotions for their products. We're going to make a Christmas sale product promotion for a shoe brand. And the way we're going to do this is by, first of all, connecting our awesome Canva down here. So we've selected Canva. If you don't know how to link Canva to ChatGPT, all you have to do is go over to this app section right here. You go over to app section, you try to find Canva, which is right here. And you click on it and it'll say connect to ChatGPT, and it's just a simple click and it's already done. And then once you've done that, you can click start chat and you can start chatting with ChatGPT, but linked to Canva. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go again, and it's going to show up down here so you can easily select it. So now we have Canva enabled, and so whatever you type in here, if it's a relevant design which can be created by Canva, it will automatically prompt Canva to create this, and you'll see the image come up somewhere here. But let's create this prompt. Right, so I have done this before, so I just copy pasted the prompt over here from my previous time I used it. And so it's not as same as when you're trying to ask a different question. This is sort of a different prompt which I've written here, and I'm going to go through it with you. So first of all, you don't specify to ChatGPT what you want because of course it's connected to a software, Canva. So it already knows that it's going to be generating images. So you don't have to say you are a professional graphic designer who has years and years of experience, blah, 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 blah. You don't need to mention that because it already knows that it's going to be creating images for you. You can start off by saying, well, I want you to create an Instagram post, a YouTube thumbnail for a shoe brand called EXP. I just gave it a random name. And so what I did was I gave details about what I want to see on the Instagram post. So I said that I wanted to see a black and white shoe on the center of the post, and I said it's a Christmas sale happening on 25th December, and I said I wanted a big 60% off shown on the poster so that everyone knows that it's 60% off because it's Christmas and most of the branding colors being used in Christmas sale posts or advertisements are red, blue, and white. So I said use a combination of bright red and dark blue as the brand colors, and you can of course give some bit of creativity to this. So I just said the shoe should be in the middle and on an angle. So instead of having just a generic shoe, you know, just sitting on a table or something. You can have it floating in the air or someone tossing it up. And if you want, you can mention what font you want to use in the poster, but I didn't mention it because I want it to be generic. And at the end, I just said it has to be enticing so that the viewer is ready to buy the shoe. In fact, I'll just write that right now. So once we've written our prompt, we're just going to click enter, and it's going to do its magic. So it's always going to be connecting to the app once you give it a prompt about giving a design. Okay, so I waited around 10 minutes and finally ChatGPT generated this image, and by far it looks absolutely amazing. You see, as I mentioned, I wanted the big black and white shoe in the poster floating, 60% off, big bold right there on the side using a big font and having this shaded red color as the background. Christmas sale, 25th December, so that everyone knows that it is a Christmas sale. And at the bottom we have the logo, which I just mentioned, EXP, as a random company. And you can see that there's so much detail in this. You can see snowflakes as well, just to indicate that it's winter time for Christmas. And again, black and white shoe, although they sort of copied the Nike logo. I don't know why it did that. But again, as a designer, as someone who has created a lot of thumbnails, a lot of Instagram posts, this by far is very, very highly professional. And for professional, it would take probably quite a long time just to make something like this. It took 10 minutes for ChatGPT just to give Canva the prompt, and it made it this good. Alrighty, so we're back. Welcome back to part 3 of this Gen AI course, and today is where we dive into the Google AI Studio. So if you haven't seen the previous video, then I've basically talked about just ChatGPT and Sora, basically OpenAI's own AI softwares. But today is where we try and uncover how you can, as a student or creator, make sure that you use the Google AI Studio to your advantage so that you can, well, of course, if you're a student, then get good grades in your exams. If you're a creator, then get the best video ideas possible, and so on and so forth. So in this video, I'm going to be covering NotebookLM, and it's by far arguably one of the best research AI tools that is available to anyone. And so I've been able to use a software like NotebookLM for quite a while now, and I've used it a lot for my university papers and exams and all that, and it's really helped me in preparing for my exams. So I'm going to show you how you can, even as a student or creator, use NotebookLM to your advantage. So as you can see on my screen right here, I am on NotebookLM, and you can basically just search up notebooklm.google and you'll be able to find your way to NotebookLM. Now, as you can see on my screen right here, I have already many previous notebooks that I've used and created over the past. These are just my university notebooks, and I basically use NotebookLM for note-taking and creating notes, as said in the name. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create a new notebook, and we're going to uncover the very, very small but unique features of NotebookLM. So let's create new notebook. So I've created the new notebook, and as you can see here, there's quite a lot of stuff going on, but right in front of you, you can see that you can add sources. Now, the way NotebookLM works is it's not like ChatGPT where it will give you information based off of the web, right? So NotebookLM really functions on whatever resource you give it, whether it's a YouTube video, a PDF file, or a document. It only gives you information from the sources you've given it. So the cool thing about this is you're not going to get AI generated information or fake information just because NotebookLM is not going to be surfing through the web. It's going to be giving you the information correctly based off of the sources you give it. So before I give it any sources, let's just run through what NotebookLM is going to do. So aside from that, here's your big interface, and majority of the stuff happens right in the middle. So on the left hand side, you have, of course, all your sources. You can see all the sources you've added. You can select and deselect what sources you don't want. Now on the left hand side, you can add any sort of source. Again, like I said, YouTube video, PDF, Word document, even an audio file if you want it. As long as it's compatible with NotebookLM, you can add it as a source. Now in the middle here, this is where majority of the magic happens. This is where you see this little chatbot, and you can easily, of course, once you upload a source, you can chat with NotebookLM and ask it relevant questions based off of the source, which I will show you in a few minutes. Now, on the left hand side here is where all the features are. So once you upload your sources onto NotebookLM, there's many different ways of you sort of interpreting that data. Of course, many times there's always been instances where I'm trying to learn this certain topic or certain subject, and I'm not really able to understand it based off of how the teacher or the lecturer teaches it. So what I can do instead is I can go to NotebookLM, put in my lecture slides or notes or whatever it is, and I can go over to this right hand side here, and I can have it teach me in different ways. So the first way is an audio overview. This is where NotebookLM generates an AI podcast. Yes, an AI podcast just from the resources that you publish, which I will show you in a minute. And of course, there's many different ways of portraying the information. You have a video overview, which it generates an AI explainer video, a slide deck, which of course shows you a bunch of PowerPoint slides, a mind map where it shows you different branches of how your sources are related, reports, flashcards, quizzes, infographics, and data tables. So there's a lot going on here, and I'm going to show you in a few minutes how that's going to work. Okay, so I've jumped into one of my previous notebooks that I've created, and as you can see, I have uploaded a few resources from my lecture slides, from one of my papers. And so every single question that I'm going to ask NotebookLM in this particular notebook is going to be from these 4 resources. And you have also the option to either accept or add in or remove any sort of resources that you want. So whatever resources that you tick is where the information that NotebookLM is going to take from. And if you deselect it, then it's not going to use that resource. So we're just going to toggle each and every one of these besides that one. So of course, this notebook talks about entrepreneurial finance. So basically entrepreneurs, startups, business, etc., etc. So I'm going to ask it a simple question today, and I'm going to ask, what is an entrepreneur? And as you'll see that it's not going to give me the Google definition of entrepreneur. It's going to give me the definition of what it's been written in my lecture slides. So as you can see, as is generated, an entrepreneur is defined as an individual who thinks, reasons, and acts to convert ideas into commercial opportunities and to create value. That is not particularly the Google definition, but it is the definition in my lecture slides. And along with that, it gives me characteristics of a successful entrepreneur. It gives me entrepreneur roles in a startup life cycle, which is, all of this is generally explained in my lecture slides, and also gives me context about New Zealand as well. So you might be thinking, well, this is a very simple question. I mean, everyone knows what an entrepreneur is. So let's ask it something a little different. Let's ask it how to start my own startup. And it's going to give me the information from the resources that I've given it. So as you can see, like ChatGPT and other AI models, it starts thinking. So it's given me all this information, and all of this information, like I said, is from these resources that I've given it. Nothing is from Google, nothing is from ChatGPT, nothing is from any external resource or website or YouTube video. Everything is from these 3 ticked boxes, 3 ticked resources. And as you can see, it's given me a very, very substantial overview of how I can start my own startup. Now, this is the most easiest part about just chatting with NotebookLM and asking it relevant questions. But if you're really struggling in a particular topic and you still think that asking questions isn't going to help you learn, then we're going to go over to the studio area. And this is where we're going to do our little magic trick. So let's say I'm a audio learner. I don't know what you call it, auditory learner. And I learn best when I listen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to audio overview. I'm going to click this pencil icon, and you have different ways of having your own AI podcast being made. So of course you have a deep dive where, they have 2 AI hosts talking to each other, and they have in-depth ways of, teaching you the subject. Brief is, well, you have sort of, I guess, self-explanatory. You're hovering over the topic. You have critique, and then you have debate, where they're debate. Let's just keep a deep dive for now, and we're going to keep the length default. And You could even say or ask, what do you want particularly the AI hosts to focus on in this episode? So I'm just going to say, focus on how anyone can start a startup at their young age. And we're just going to click generate. You don't need massively long prompts. You don't need paragraphs or words and words of, for your prompt. This is not like ChatGPT where, you have to write words and words and give it context. It already knows the context because you've given it the resources. You just have to say a few sentences. Okay, while that is being made, we can go over to something like reports. We'll click on reports and it can give you different style reports based off of the resources that you want. So there's 4 types. One is create your own, which I'll go through later. The second one is a briefing doc where it basically gives you notes, right? So if you're someone who doesn't like handwriting your notes or just hates note taking or doesn't know how to do it, you can give your resources to NotebookLM. You can go over the report and click briefing doc and it will give you an overview of whatever stuff you've learned or whatever you're learning in this particular resource. Study guide is going to give you short answer quizzes or short answer questions that you can practice and help yourself understand terms and glossaries and whatnot. The fourth is a blog post, which self-explanatory. It'll create a blog post which from the resources that you give it. And suggested formats, these are based off of whatever you give it in terms of your resource. So right now I've given it entrepreneurial finance as a resource. So it's giving me things like market analysis, strategic management, educational concept, life cycle financing primer, so on and so forth. So in this case, we'll just click on briefing doc because I hate making notes. So we'll just click on that and it's going to start creating my own briefing doc. So we'll just wait till that actually happens. Alrighty, so it's been a few minutes and we finally gotten our first document, which is the briefing doc. And as you can see on the right hand side of my screen, that it has given us pretty much a full-on bullet pointed notes vibe here. So you can see that it's given us headings of the topic, it's given us definitions of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial processes, traits of successful entrepreneurs. It's given us a whole deep understanding of entrepreneurs and finance and all that. It's given us even a table of all the sort of metrics and all that. So a lot of detail in the briefing doc. And like I said before, that because it depends on what sources you give it. If you have sources that are very in-depth and they have a lot of information in them, then the results you're going to get from the briefing docs or the AI audio overview is going to be even more greater. So if you are someone who's lazy at making notes or doesn't know how to make good notes, then you can go over to NotebookLM and just drop in your resources and generate the notes from here. It is that easy. Aside from that, I also asked NotebookLM to make a mind map. So we'll just look at that for a second because it takes quite a while for the audio and video overview to actually make. Aside from that, I also asked NotebookLM to make a mind map of this resource. So we're just going to click on that and we'll see how it looks. So this is a mind map, and as you can see, you have connections between entrepreneurial finance, the fundamentals, process, principles of finance, yada yada yada. And you can see these arrows lead to more connections. So you can click on each arrow and you can open the mind map up a bit. And let's click on one of these. Let's say idea to opportunity. So if I click that, and it will give me a full-on note, right? Like it's taking notes based off of what that particular section is, and it's going to give me definitions of each and every point that I have on the mind map. So instead of having to create notes for each and every section, you can just create a mind map and then click on each branch, you could say, and it will give you the whole notes for you. As you can see, it's generating live in front of me right now, and it's giving me full definitions. It's taken references from the resources that I gave it, so on and so forth. Incredible. Aside from all of this, you can as well, if you're someone who likes to work as a group, in group studying, then you can as well share your notebook with someone else, and they can also see what's going on in terms of the notes you've made and the other resources you've used. Because I'm using the free version, you can add up to 50 resources. That could be any resource. If you do want to get the paid version, of course, of Google AI Studio, then you're able to upload, I think, around 500 to 1,000 resources. I'm not really sure. I'll have to look into that. But right now you can upload at least 50 resources in this one notebook about any topic. So if you're someone who likes to make things personalized and make your AI tool personalized as well, so you can go over to the chat area and you can see this icon here. You click on that, configure notebook, and you can choose how you want NotebookLM to respond to your questions. So right now it's on default for me, but you can have it as a learning guide. You can even have a custom. You can give it, certain examples like, respond at a PhD level student and, so on and so forth. So you can give it examples of how you want NotebookLM to give you answers. And also you can choose how long you want your responses to be. Right now it's again at default. You can have it longer, you can have it shorter. I just have mine at default because I think this is quite enough. I don't need it any longer. But hence, if you do like to customize, then this is the best place to do it. All right, so welcome back to part 4 of this generative AI course. And today I'll be showing you how to use Gemini, Google Gemini. If you're a student, if you're a creator, whatever you want. So a lot of it is just basically because it's a Gen AI tool. A lot of it's really similar to ChatGPT. So if you are very familiar with ChatGPT or any other sort of Gen AI model, then you'll be very, very proficient in Gemini as well. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please go ahead, subscribe, because there's more videos coming on like this. And if you haven't seen the previous video where I showed you how to use NotebookLM, then go ahead, watch that video. The link will be in the description down below, so go ahead, check it out. So as you can see on my screen, I have Gemini open, and all you need is a Google account to use Gemini. And if you want to join in and work alongside me as we're doing this, then you can go and visit Gemini at gemini.google.com/app, or you can use the link in the description down below. Hence, we have the whole interface in front of us, so I'm going to go through the interface as usual, and then we'll start doing some awesome projects. So in front of you, you have something very similar to ChatGPT. On the left-hand side, you have all your chats, and down here you have settings. If you go to settings, you have all these different instructions that you can do. And because Gemini is a part of Google, you'll see a lot of things that are related to Google as well, such as you can connect your own apps to Gemini, meaning you could connect Gmail, Google Calendar, Drive, whatever it is, YouTube Music, anything that is a Google app will be, situated in here. As well as that, you can, of course, change your theme, see your activity, even though that's sort of alongside here. You can, of course, look at some more things, like you can change your subscription. Right now, I'm using the free subscription just because I think a lot of users, I think 90% of users do use the free version of most LLMs, most large language models. And so hence, if it makes sense for me to make this course for people who use the free version. Anyway, those were the settings and all that. If I go back to the main chat area, this is the main chat. Right in front of you, you'll have, of course, the main magical wand right here, which is the, of course, prompt box. And this is where you write all your prompts, just like ChatGPT. Now, you'll notice something very, very cool, and that is that if I click the plus icon, you can actually add resources from NotebookLM. And the reason why is because NotebookLM is a product of Google. It is part of the Google AI Studio. So whatever notes you have in NotebookLM, you can, of course, have them part of your prompt, part of your chat right here, and you can ask it any relevant question, right? So aside from NotebookLM, you can add photos from Google Photos, add files from Google Drive, and other files from your computer. If I head over to Tools, now a lot of these things are, again, quite similar to ChatGPT, but a few things are quite different as well. So you'll see something very, very common like create a new image or deep research. Those are things which are very close to ChatGPT's. But instead, create an image is using Nano Banana. Now, if you don't know what Nano Banana is, it's an image gen software made by Google. So like how Sora is OpenAI's product, you have Nano Banana as Google's product. Aside from that, you have create music. Now this is a very, very new feature, and I haven't really tested it just because of how new it is, and we'll see if we can create something with it. Otherwise, it's your turn to try it out. Guided learning is, well, a better way of learning, as Google says, and we'll do some of that as well. Other than that, if I go to this side of the prompt, you can choose what version of Gemini you want to use. So I'm using Gemini 3, but there's, the fast, the thinking, and the pro version. I usually use the fast version just because I don't want it to be thinking so much about the work I do. I use mainly Gemini for university help, assignment helps, and all that. So I don't really want it to be thinking so much about it because it does take a bit of time. But yeah, that was the whole interface, and now we're going to try something really, really cool. So you might be asking, well, is there a different way to prompt Gemini compared to ChatGPT? Well, because both AI models are different, they will give you somewhat different answers, but the structure is still the same, right? So you, of course, have define, explain, resist. And this is the only strategy that I think that has helped me create and get the awesome results from Gemini ChatGPT. If you do think that you want to try something different, then you can. Otherwise, I would always just recommend using the same format because, again, they're the same LLMs. They use the same, they not really same, but they think a lot similar with one another. But I'm not going to explain the define, explain, resist prompt structure just because I've shared it many times. So if you haven't seen that, then go watch part 2 of the Gen AI course and you'll see all about it. Now, the first thing I want to look at is if you are a student and you are wanting to know how to study better, right, then there is a simple way to do that, right? So like in the last episode in part 3, we discussed how to use NotebookLM. So what we're going to do is first we're going to go to NotebookLM, click this button down here, and we are going to add a notebook, right? So you can see a selection of all my notebooks here, which I have used in or created in the past few months. Right now, we're going to use the latest notebook that I used in the last part, which was the finance notebook. So I'm just going to add that, right? So I have that notebook added. As well as that, I'm going to go to tools. I'm going to go to tools and I'm going to click on, let's say, guided learning. So we have these two selections now, and you can do this for any sort of prompt or any sort of topic that you want to learn. For now, we're just going to use a normal example. So it's going to ask us, what do you want to learn? So let's say I want to learn about building a startup and how I can do that with a certain amount of money, and what is the best startup to start as a young 19, 20-year-old. So that's going to be our prompt, and we'll see what it looks like after I write it out. If you're also wanting to copy the prompts and try it out for yourself, then I'll have everything, I guarantee you everything, in the description down below. Don't forget to check it out. Everything's in the description. Alrighty, so I've written the whole prompt and I've even, given it to Gemini, but I'll just show you what I've written. So in this sort of case scenario, you don't really need very long prompts just because you already have a lot of references, a lot of sources to back up the knowledge in your prompt. You would have given it the notebook from NotebookLM, and as well as that, you would have said to do some guided learning as the tool to select. So in this case, your prompt is not going to be that long. But this is what I typically wrote. So I wrote that I'm a typical finance student studying entrepreneurial finance. I'm struggling with the concept of startups and ventures, and I don't know what type of startup I should start as a 19, 20-year-old. I need to write an academic report for an assignment talking about what startups are going to be booming in the next 5 years. And hence, the assignment has to be 500 words long with APA referencing. So that was my prompt, straightforward, to the point. As you can see, Gemini has not written the report. Bear in mind, if I were to do this on ChatGPT, or if I did this without selecting the guided learning tool, this AI, Gemini, would have written the report already. Now you might be thinking, well, isn't that a bad thing if it hasn't written the report? In fact, it's a good thing because it's showing you that rather than just, asking AI to write your reports, it's going to forcefully make you learn and understand the concept. And as I said, if you want to have a report written by Gemini, then it's gonna not write it for you, but help you write it out yourself. It's gonna be like a personal tutor alongside you, and it will show you the ways, it will show you the ropes of how you want to develop your report. So in this case, what it's written is it's taken stuff from my notebook. that I've, studied and from my lectures. And it's gonna, of course, understand and simplify that learning into a simple chat. So it's talking about understanding startups and ventures, shown us all the stages here. It's shown us different principles that were in my lecture notes. So cash as currency, risk and reward, venture value. And down here, it's going to ask a few questions. So it's going to ask us, how do I want this assignment to go? Which areas do I find most interesting? So let's say I want to first explore productivity tools. Yeah, so as you can see, it's going through the different steps of what the report should look like. It's not really showing me, or it's not really writing the report for me, just because I think that's what majority of students do nowadays. But this is a far better way of learning and completing your assignments. This is because Gemini really shows you and tries to make you understand what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. If you want to make this even more better, than if you are trying to write a report or an assignment, then I would recommend submitting a marking guide or a marking schedule, just so Gemini knows that whatever you're being marked on for the report is going to be worth. But hence, it's given us 3 points that we can go after. So market opportunity, financial viability and life cycle, or risk assessment. So we'll start with the market opportunity and gap analysis. Yeah, so it's done a bit of research for us, and as you can see, it's gone through the findings, it's done a bit of research, and it's even given us some typical tools. So it's given us all these findings, and it's going to keep on asking us questions. And as a student, you can, of course, keep analyzing, keep giving it suggestions of how you want your report to go. It's never going to write the report for you. It's going to help you write the report, right? So you'll be writing, and they'll be giving you suggestions and, help in all sorts of ways. So that was guided learning. And if you, wanted to do research as a student, that's how you can use Gemini for making sure that you get the best grade possible. Otherwise, if you are a creator and you are looking to, make content regularly on your channel or on your Instagram account, then this prompt is by far the best when it comes to, researching for content. So a lot of people and a lot of creators like me as well struggle with what content ideas are going viral, or what content is actually working on YouTube or Instagram, and how we can actually benefit and get the most views and subscribers out of that. So I'm going to show you a prompt, and we're going to look forward to seeing what that prompt actually gives us in results for Gemini. Again, as a reminder, everything is going to be in the description down below, so go ahead, check it out. And if you are liking this video, then subscribe to the channel would be absolutely awesome. Alrighty, so after around 30-40 minutes, I've curated a very, very in-depth prompt, and as you can see, that is how long it is. So I've used the define, explain, resist method, and I've curated this prompt, and I've basically given it every single detail about myself and about who Gemini is. I've shared it that, I'm a creator, I have this many subscribers, I'm this years old, I want to create this type of content, these are my competitors. And hence you can see that the more detail you give to Gemini or any sort of LLM, then the more they're able to understand who you are, and the more they're able to give you a curated answer. So this was my whole prompt, and the reason why I wrote this prompt was I want to come up with proper content ideas for my channel. I want to understand what my competitors are doing. I want to know how many times a week should I be uploading to be growing on YouTube. So that was the whole gist of this prompt, and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to see what Gemini has actually written. So it's saying my long-term strategy should be 2 videos per week, and I should focus on searchability and authority, and showcasing a few video ideas as well, like university student series or the agency reality series as I, build metamedia, and, some other series as well. And it's giving me short form strategies as well. So around 3 to 4 short form pieces a week. It's giving me the format, the topic idea, and even some of the hooks. Now, I wouldn't really trust some of the hooks that, Gemini gives, just because they're very generic and very AI-y. So I have my own viral hooks for short form content. So if you want to also have access to that, then go ahead, follow me on Instagram, because I'll have all those resources on my Instagram bio. But it also gives me my competitors, Ishan Sharma as one of my competitors. If you haven't seen him, he's a very good YouTuber, very similar content. And it also shows me a few other things as well. So thumbnails, make sure I have high contrast thumbnails, 30-second rule for long form videos, and community, replying to every single message. So it's giving me a format to work with, and it's giving me some sort of idea of what content I can create. So instead of you going around and searching on Google Trends or YouTube about what's actually working, you can use AI to your advantage and give it this beast of a prompt, and you can gain all of this, strategy wise information. Now, if you are wanting to level up this prompt, then what I can suggest you ask is, if you're a short form creator, then generate you a 30-day content calendar for each and every video. So that's what I'm going to do right here. So I'm going to give it a prompt for a 30-day content calendar. Right. So I asked it to generate a 30-day content calendar, and it's first of all broken it down into 4 weeks. So week 1, 2, 3, 4. And for each and every date, it has a video. So 1st of April, short form video, 2nd, long form, and 4th, 5th, 7th, all that sort of stuff. And it's done that for up to week 4 as well. And it's even given me a link to where I can watch how I can start a YouTube channel in 2026 from someone else who's created content. If you've ever wanted to create images or videos without ever paying a single dollar, then now you can. Hi, my name is Ayan, and welcome back to part 5 of the Gen AI course. And in this video, I will be showing you how you can create any image, any video, and even animate a logo for absolutely free. And unfortunately, this is the last part of the Gen AI course. I hope you have really enjoyed all these parts. And if you have learned anything, then please comment down below. I have learned something, and I'll be happy to give it a heart or reply back. Anyway, let's get straight into it. As you can see on my screen, we are at a very, very special website. It is called Flow, and it is another Google product. Now, just like Gemini, just like NotebookLM, this is part of the Google AI Studio. So the way you can get here is by, if you search Flow on Google and you click on the first link, it will lead you to this. Or you can just use a link in the description down below. So everything, as I mentioned before, is going to be in the description down below. So go and check it out. But without further ado, let's click on Create with Flow, and we'll see how the magic actually happen. Okay, so here we are, and as you can see, this interface is quite basic, not much happening here. So the main thing is we're gonna click on this new button, new project, and we're gonna start a new project. So main thing about generating images, first of all, is how good your prompt is. It doesn't matter if you are trying to make a basic image or a professional one, the prompt really matters. And as I explained it in the first part with Sora, how each and every word in your prompt really matters, the same as this, right? So for this, we're going to be using Nano Banana. Again, that is another, Google's own product, Nano Banana. So just like Sora is a part of OpenAI, Nano Banana Pro is part of Google. And the cool thing is that you can use Nano Banana Pro for absolutely free. A lot of people say, well, you have to pay for Nano Banana Pro, and it's around, I don't know how much it is, but on this website you can use it for absolutely free without paying a dollar, right? So I'm going to go down here on this chat box, and I'm going to click this icon. And as you can see, you have a lot of variety in what you want to do. For images, you have landscape, portrait, and you can generate more than one version. You can generate up to 4 samples at a time. But for now, we're just going to do 2. And you can down here choose whether you want to use Nano Banana Pro, Nano Banana 2, or Imagen 4. Of course, everyone's going to be using Nano Banana Pro just because of how good it is. And for video, if I click on video, you have a lot more options. You have frames and ingredients. So the main difference between frames and ingredients is that for frames, it will generate a single frame for one video. For ingredients, you'll have multiple different frames for one video separately though. And you have landscape, portrait as usual, and you can have more than one version. And for this one, you can either have a fast, because it uses VO3, which is again another Google product. You can either use VO3 fast or VO3 quality. Main difference is that you'll be using credits for the quality one, but for fast, it's just 40 credits. But for now, for image, let's try and generate a nice image. So let's say I want to generate an image of a bird flying across the ocean where there's, a sunset happening, right? Like I said before, we're going to not define, explain, resist, because that's usually for ChatGPT and Gemini. mainly is describing how you want the image to look. So we're going to start with the bird. So first of all, we're going to start with the background. We're going to define how we want the background to look. Sunsetty, beach or ocean, right? Thick clouds, orangey red sky, and what else if you want. And we're going to describe the bird, what bird we want, whether it's flying or whether it's, sitting, standing. So all that sort of stuff, it's going to be accounted in here. Prompt for a falcon on side of a beach, sunset happening. So we're just going to click enter and we're going to see how Flow creates this image. While this is loading, comment down below whether you think Nano Banana Pro is better than Sora and whether you think that, and which AI tool you like to use. Comment down below. So here are our two images, and as you can see, both of them look very, very interesting. So on the left hand side, you have the falcon looking across that way. You have the sunset happening in the background and in front of a beach, small slight waves, and it's sitting on a circular wooden top. And on the right hand side, pretty much same thing, but this time the falcon is looking towards the camera, and this one looks a lot more reddish and orangey in terms of the background. So please let me know in the comments down below which image looks better, image number 1 or image number 2. Personally, I think image number 2 looks better, but if the falcon was looking that way towards the right, then it would look a lot more better. But we can actually change the prompt. So if we wanted to use the prompt again, or if we want to change something, then we can add to prompt over here, and we can say make the falcon look towards the right of the picture. Just going to do that again, click enter, and it's going to generate 2 more images in the same window. So here's the new image with the editor prompt, and as you can see, you have the falcon looking towards the right of the screen. So a lot of things you can do with this image. If you click the 3 buttons, you can animate it. Of course, if you want to see it animated, you can add to prompt, you can put it to favorite, you can download images, you can reuse the prompt, and if you want to download, you can of course download it in either 1K resolution, 2K resolution as well. A lot more other things you can do as well. So if we were to, let's say, animate this image, we'll click on animate, and we can say, well, I want the falcon to fly off into the distance towards the sunset by initiating its flight by looking downwards, flapping its wings for elevation. So this is generating a video for us. So we can look over here, click the video icon, and you can see that we have all of this settings going on. So I'm going to click enter, and it's going to generate an animation for us using Veo 3. The cool thing about this website is that not a lot of people actually know about it. I've heard a few people talk about Flow, but not really having tutorials about it or showing how you can use Flow properly. It's better than just paying for Nano Banana Pro and Veo 3 separately and, not using it properly. Flow is the only website which I think you can use Nano Banana and Veo 3 for free. And I think it's a wonderful place to create images and videos. All right, so it generated us our videos, and we'll see. Yes, so it looks, oh wow. And as you can see, it flies off into the distance. So it looks down, starts flapping its wings, and it goes off into the sunset. All right, nearly similar, but this time in this one, the camera zooms in more towards the falcon. Another thing you notice is that if you look closely, that little strap it has on its legs, it sort of disappears once it flies away. But comment down below whether you think video number 1 or video number 2 is better. And if I just look into here as well, I think, because a lot of the time videos like these have a few defects. So yeah, this one's a lot more clear. The thing that I don't like about video gen softwares like Veo is that you will have watermarks in the bottom right hand corner on the video. So it's very hard to take that off unless I think you have some sort of other software that can take it off for you. But that was basically generating an image and also animating the image using Veo 3. And if I click on the 3 dots, you can add to scene, or you can do a lot more other things as well. You can download the video in 270p as an animated GIF, or a 720p video. For 1080p, 4K, you need to upgrade, obviously. But for free, this is absolutely really nice. Now, this time we're going to try animate a logo. So we're going to pick any random logo. Let's choose Tesla's logo. So I'm going to grab a logo for Tesla. Go to images and let's just pick this one. Right, so I have downloaded the Tesla logo and I have it right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and animate it. And the way we're going to animate it is we're going to make sure we have some sort of light effect happening in the animation. So I'm going to say that I want you to animate the Tesla logo. I want a bunch of light streaks hinting the logo in the beginning and slowly revealing itself as words come together, letters come together. Righty, so we're going to click enter and we're going to see what this gives us. Right, so here are our two videos and let's see what it's actually created for us. Oh wow, that looks awesome. Let's watch that again. That looks really cool. So look at this one. Alrighty, so a bit of word animation as well, letter animation. Nice, cool. So again, let me know what you think, whether you enjoyed animation number 1 or animation number 2. Comment down that below as well. And that was it for this video and for this course. If you really enjoyed this video and this course, then make sure you subscribe to the channel because there's more videos like this coming as well. And if you think that this course is going to help someone, then make sure you send this course to them as well. Share it with them, and I'll see you in the next video.